This is another one of my little kind of fun with fakes and deep dives into counterfeits. As folks know, I go through and I review listings on eBay, primarily just to see what's the latest counterfeits because you can find them literally every day. And going through large cents, I always look to see what's available. And I saw this one, and I said, "Oh no, I've seen one that looks like this before." Um, a very large dealer. Starting price of $3,500 is actually a fair starting price for the condition of that coin. And again, 1804 is a key date for the large cents, very low mintage that's been estimated. And so, very popular coin. The coin would have gone for considerably more if the listing probably had continued. But down a little bit further. And this is what caught my eye. You might say, why did it break my attention? Well, this is why. And the reason is for all these marks that you see. And I have seen these marks on several different examples of 1804 large cents that were not genuine coins. So I marked all those, and there is a green one I circled, and that is it almost looks like a die crack, but it's something I had not seen before that I remembered, and it's certainly not anything I've seen on a genuine large cent. So continue down a little bit, and so I actually have one, and I bought this one a couple years ago, I believe, in an EAC auction. And you can just look. I didn't mark mine up, but you can see the red circles and look over on mine, and it has all the matching marks. The one thing it does not have is that die crack at the O. So these two are different examples made different times through that process. And I said, "How many matching marks can you see?" Well, and I know my little granddaughter is watching this, so I'm going to pull up the reverse and say it's kind of like Where's Waldo? Um, but you can just cite them. I don't have to circle them. There's just one scratch and one nick and one mark. They're all over, scattered all over the reverses that are identical on both the coins. Now, as we talk about counterfeits, one coin has relation marks, the second one should not. So that's always kind of a key when you look at coins to say, uh-oh, one of these two must have a problem because they can't both have the same matching marks. We'll go a little further. And so that became a discussion point. And then I just wanted to talk a little bit again about just in general. Um, the reported mintage is 96,500. So again, that's pretty low for a large cent. And it's an estimate. They don't have a really good number for that. There are three general die states for genuine 1804 large cents, and they're documented as A, which is a perfect dies, where there's no die break and no cud on the coin. B, there's a cut on the obverse, and you can see the cut on the obverse on this image. And then C has cuts on both sides. So there's a big one on the obverse and a big one on the reverse as well. And eventually that die just had to be expired. It just broke. And so I talked about that. And then I went in and I sent the guy a note. And maybe I was a little blunt in my note, but I said, "Hi, this is an Electro and not a genuine 1804 LC. I have one with the same matching marks. And it'd be great to see an edge view because that would be really a good way to absolutely determine that. We'll go down a little bit further. And I really wanted to see what he knew about the coin because here he is, a large coin dealer, listing something that doesn't look genuine to my eye, for $3,500. And so, we don't know each other. He came back and he gave me a response and a history lesson of the different die states and images and pictures and said the cuds are known markers on authentic pieces. He attached photos. And then he said, if we had any doubts regarding authenticity, it would not be listed for sale. So he did not doubt the coin. And then he made a comment that they plan to send it in for authentication with their next group of coins. I guess that's if it didn't sell. We'll go down a little bit further. And so we had some more discussion. And I said, you don't see the common markers of my electro? and I noted that I had written a couple articles on these, and that, of course, the electrodes will have the cuds because they use a genuine coin to make the skins for those. And he said he had not made any mention of the edge, but that he would send me images on Monday. He asked me to direct him to any of my articles, which I did. And he noted that when I said marks, he was thinking about the cuts. And now that he's looking closer and he's starting to do a deeper dive of his coin, he says he sees what I'm talking about. So he appreciated the heads up and was going to look deeper into the coin. And the link that I had is to a proxy blog article I'd written that basically went through about 5 or 6 other examples. So we had seen quite a few of these. Go down a little bit further. You're struggling with your cursor.
No, well, a pop-up window came up and I couldn't get it to move.
Gotcha. So I talked about that. There's my proxy blog article. That was the lead into it. And one of the things that's cool about mine, the description about it when I bought it was, it goes back 39 years. It has a provenance back to 1987. Dennis Loring and Pete Smith are giants in early American copper. And so it was a very interesting coin for me to pick up. And then that's basically the image that was the lead-in image to the proxy blog article. And again, there's a number of similar coins with the same markers on them. We'll go down a little bit further. So I sent him that, and he came back. He ended the auction, and he said, "Hi, Jack. The edge is not good." And the edge is not good, and it was heavy, which a lot of electrodes are heavy to the normal standards for that coin. And he gone in and done an XRF, and it appeared to be all copper. So he wasn't really sure how to accommodate the extra weight associated with his. But the edges are great. The edges, you can see the seam, but you can also see where they've gone in and they've tooled it and they've done a number of things, gouges and whatnot. But they're trying to hide the seam. They're trying to make it not as obvious that it is an electro and it actually has a seam on the edge. But they actually made the edge bizarre. I mean, it doesn't look like anything you'd see on a genuine 1804 large cent. So he said, "I'll keep investigating and he'll get back with me later." And then he did. We'll go down a little bit further.
Yeah, I love these pictures. I sat there and stared at these for a long time.
Yeah, he did a great job.
He
And
did a very good job taking these images, and you can see the positioning, and this is what's important when you look at the edge of a coin. You're taking photo. It helps people orient to where you're at in the coin. This is something I learned when I was taking pictures of the electro, but I love, folks, don't underestimate the power of looking at the third side of the coin. I know we talk about this all the time. It really does matter.
so he sent me another note, and he said he was going to hang on to it for a while. And if he ever decided he was going to sell it, he said he actually put my name and my seller ID and my eBay ID in the flip. And but one of the things that he noticed that his had that apparent die crack from the O up into the bust. And yeah, I told him I'd not seen that before. And again, I'd never seen that on a genuine coin. So he said he'd had it about 10 years. And again, it was just a very great conversation between him and myself. And I thought it was great that he went in and actually looked that deeper into his coin. And then thought about the electro process and wondered if somehow the mold had been damaged, had been scratched, and that is what created that apparent die crack at the O in his example. And he said, "Let me know if I want any more images." He's very accommodating. He appreciated the research that we'd done, and again, it was a very good experience between two guys that were interested in the coin. And I told him I hadn't seen that, but of course, then I did find another one. And it's interesting. I save a lot of images. And Winston Zach actually had this one for sale. And I was a little too late. I went in to try to get it. It had already been sold. But his example also has that die crack from the O into the bust. So we know there's at least two of those of that die state for those electrodes. Then go down a little bit further. And I just made the note that he'd had his for 10 years. Mine has a provenance back to 39 years. So obviously these have been around for a while. And then just another note about 1804 large cents and how to attribute a genuine one. The dies are rotated, and that is the same through all die states and for all genuine coins. And I actually had this is an image out of the Pogue collection that actually shows that rotation. So when you see the obverse is squared up the way you would expect to see it, the reverse then is tilted almost 45 degrees. And that's, again, all genuine examples look like that. We get down a little bit further. And then my example, and I actually, I like to send my coins to ICG and get them in holders, and it protects them and also makes it easy to do displays and those types of things with them. But they got the rotation right on mine. And so they went to every effort to make mine look like a genuine coin, with the exception they did not go in and do anything to the edge. So the edge seam is very obvious on my coin. Again, one of the indicators that it's not a genuine coin. Yeah, I write articles I call dark corner articles for Coin Week, and those are about coins that actually got past the third-party graders and got put in genuine holders. And we talk about 1804 large cents being a key date. Not only are there electros out there, but there are altered date counterfeits out there as well. And this was one that someone had brought to my attention that it actually was going to go in a stacks auction and got caught. And it was in a third-party grader holder as genuine. We go down a little bit further. And I talked again in this article about the orientation of the coin and how it should be rotated on the reverse. And basically same image I showed you before. We go down a little bit further. And so this is actually the cert verification, and it actually showed the coin. This is PCGS. I did not get an opportunity to see one actually in the slab. That would have been great because, again, you don't know what orientation the coin was just by looking at a picture like this. I always straighten them up.
Good point.
Yeah, but in the holder, we would have seen it probably look just like you're seeing it there because it's not an 1804. So go down a little bit further. And so I show it relative to an 1804, and the 4 is not quite right. There's an issue with the O. On the reverse, when you go down, the reverse is just not in the right location. So the stems are wrong. You can see where the one stem and berry relative to E is supposed to be versus on the left where it is on the top of the E. And then go up just a little bit further if you could. And then the S is in the wrong position for the one on the left relative to the actual genuine 1804. So as soon as you look at them side by side and you just do a comparison of where are the letters, where are the wreath, where are the berries, you can see that these don't match. Go down a little bit further. The next part that's always fun is identifying what is the genuine coin. And it actually was an 1803 S260 that they went in and very carefully altered the 4. And, when you look at it in this image, the 4 looks a little wonky there, and it looks like it's a little discolored around it. But it was retoned, and they did a decent job, and it was good enough then to get into a third-party grader holder as a genuine coin. So those are the other things that we need to be concerned about when we're looking, again, know the coin, and know what you're looking for, and attribution, attribution, attribution. This one should not have passed muster, if anybody had really looked at it that closely.